as you know, in order to lead in artificial intelligence, you need to have AI model technology that India has.
Okay, so lately everyone's been talking about India like it's about to become like the next big thing in AI.
Yeah.
And, we were curious too. So
Yeah.
we did a deep dive into a bunch of articles from Business Today, the Indian Express, and the Financial Express.
Cool.
We even threw in an NVIDIA blog post.
Oh, nice.
They were all covering the NVIDIA AI Summit 2024 that just happened in Mumbai.
Yeah, it seems like there's just so much happening over there. Like
Totally.
all these different factors are coming together.
To a flywheel is one of the great advantages that India has, which is a very large population of users.
You've got all these talented engineers and developers and a really young population that's already so tech savvy.
Yeah.
And their startup scene is just exploding.
And then you've got NVIDIA, who's like the leader in all this AI hardware and software stuff. And they're basically saying, we're all in on India.
Right, Jensen Huang, their CEO, he basically said that India is the epicenter of the whole IT industry.
Yeah.
And that they're playing a key role in this whole AI revolution.
I mean, he even said NVIDIA is AI.
Yeah, like that's a pretty bold statement.
Totally.
He's saying that what NVIDIA does and all the talent in India, it's all connected.
Right.
It's not just like NVIDIA selling stuff to India. It's India shaping the future of AI with what NVIDIA makes.
Epicenter, though, isn't that just like a Silicon Valley buzzword?
Well,
Is there actually anything to it, or is it just hype?
let's look at what's actually happening.
Okay.
So India's AI computing capacity is predicted to increase like 20 times in just 1 year.
Wow.
And then you've got Mukesh Ambani, the guy from Reliance Industries.
Yeah.
He was talking about how India is in this perfect spot because their average age is under 35. And they have really strong digital infrastructure.
That makes sense.
Plus, there are more than 2,000 Indian startups that are part of NVIDIA's Inception program.
Really?
And they're all working on different AI applications in different industries.
So it's more than just hype. And, that NVIDIA blog post had some cool examples of startups that are already doing really interesting stuff with AI.
Yeah, there were some that really stood out.
Great.
Corover.ai.
Look at that.
They're a conversational AI platform, and they're the ones behind that Ask Disha chatbot that the Indian Railways use.
Oh, yeah.
It can handle like 150,000 questions every day in all these different languages.
Wow.
And then there's Videoverse. They're using AI to change how we watch sports.
How so?
Their tools helped the Indian Premier League make highlight reels like 15 times faster than before.
Wow.
And apparently that led to way more people watching.
So it's not just about India, like building these tools. It's about actually using them.
Exactly.
Ways that can change things.
And here's the other thing. These solutions they're making aren't just for India.
What do you mean?
They could work globally, Think about it. India has all these different languages.
Right.
So if they're building AI that works in all those languages, it means it could probably work in other parts of the world with similar problems.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
But even Jensen Huang said that
Formal languages here in India with apparently a dialect every 1,500 kilometers. And so you don't have to go very far before you need to train another model.
India's linguistic diversity, with 25 official languages plus tons of dialects,
Right.
that it's a huge problem to figure out.
Sure.
So how can they really be a leader in AI when language is such a hard thing to deal with?
Yeah, that is the big question, isn't it?
It is.
But it's also like a huge opportunity.
How so?
Well, NVIDIA is already working on these large language models that are designed for India's specific languages.
Okay.
And then you've got startups like Karya, they're using crowdsourcing to make these multilingual data sets.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're giving power to communities that are often ignored, but they're also getting really valuable data that can be used to make AI even better.
Cool.
And it shows how facing a problem can actually lead to some really creative solutions.
I like that.
Me too.
And, Mukesh Ambani had this really interesting take on NVIDIA.
Exotic place. And I was thinking that when you are in India, I've got to give you my version of what NVIDIA means to me. And I was just thinking about it backstage. There's a very important word link which is called Vidya, Vidya. Right? And in Indian, in Hindi, as we are all determined to make the best LLM in Hindi, right? In Hindi, Vidya means knowledge.
Yeah.
He connected their name to the Sanskrit word vidya, which means knowledge,
Right.
and linked it to the goddess Saraswati.
I know, it's not your typical tech talk, right?
Not at all.
But what he was doing was tapping into this like really deep cultural belief that knowledge and prosperity are connected in India.
Okay.
So when he talks about AI, he's not just talking about technology, he's talking about empowering people and helping them out of poverty.
I see.
It's pretty powerful.
It is.
And he was also praising Mark Zuckerberg for making the Llama AI model open source.
Really?
Yeah,
You think Meta's trying to, like, win over the goddess of prosperity now?
maybe.
Huh.
But seriously, this brings up a bigger issue about open source AI.
Uh-huh.
It's a big debate right now, open source versus, proprietary models.
Right.
And what Ambani said adds this whole cultural layer to the conversation.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Okay, so India could become, like, this huge force in AI,
Yeah,
and they've got all these things going for them.
right.
But are there any, like, downsides? Did any of these articles talk about any risks?
It's funny you should say that because none of them really did.
Really?
But you're right to think about that because
Yeah.
when things change really fast with technology, there can be some stuff that like nobody expected.
Like what?
Well, think about social media. There's all these problems now with, data privacy and all that misinformation. So it makes sense to be cautious.
So even though India could benefit a lot from AI,
Yeah.
they also need to think about the ethical side of things,
Totally.
like how it could affect society.
Exactly. It has to be fair.
Right.
And it can't make existing inequalities even worse.
So true.
Like, imagine if all these amazing AI tools they're building, what if they only work for people who speak English?
Right.
That would leave out a ton of people.
So this is where things like Karya's crowdsourcing model come in, right?
Exactly.
Because they're getting people from all these different communities involved in making those multilingual data sets.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just making data for AI, it's giving those communities a way to be heard
I totally agree.
and to make sure nobody's left out.
And that brings up a bigger question.
What's that?
So if India can actually figure this out, like all these different languages and making sure everyone benefits,
Right.
could they be like an example for other countries?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Countries that are struggling with similar issues.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
So India could not only be a leader in AI,
Yeah.
but also a leader in like ethical AI.
Right. AI that's fair and inclusive.
And that would really change things.
For sure.
It would.
It's definitely something to watch as all this develops in India.
Totally.
And, we were talking about what Ambani said with that whole Vidya and goddess Saraswati thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that was just like a random comment.
What do you mean?
I think it tells us something about how people in India see AI.
Like what?
It's not like some foreign thing they're being forced to use. It
Right.
seems like they're embracing it
Uh-huh.
and they're connecting it to things that are already important in their culture.
Right.
Their values and hopes for the future.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Exactly.
It's about how it fits into their society.
And I think that's really powerful.
It is.
It shows how AI could bring positive change to India.
Right.
Not just like economic growth, but something more
It's making me think,
about what?
well, we keep saying India could be this AI powerhouse.
Right.
But what does that really mean for, like, who's in charge of technology in the world?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
I mean, we're already seeing things change.
How so?
Like it used to be that the US was the one calling all the shots.
Right.
But now you have China and India, they're becoming big players.
Uh-huh.
And AI could make that happen even faster.
Yeah.
It could lead to like a world where more countries have a say in how technology develops.
So it's not just one country dominating everything.
Right. And that would definitely have like global consequences.
For sure. Like how countries do business with each other.
Exactly.
Even how they get along.
Totally.
It could even affect what kinds of technology we see in the future.
Right.
So India's AI revolution,
Yeah.
it's not just about India.
Nope.
It's about the whole world.
It really is. And it shows how important it is for everyone to work together on this
Yeah.
and talk about it.
And make sure AI benefits everyone,
Exactly.
not just a few people.
Absolutely. Well said.
I think you've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
Me too. And if there's one thing I hope they take away,
What's that?
it's that India's AI journey is just beginning.
Right.
It's constantly changing.
Totally.
There's huge potential,
Totally.
but also potential risks.
Yeah.
And we need to think carefully about those.
You know, it's easy to get lost in all this talk about like algorithms and all that technical stuff.
Right.
But we have to remember that this isn't just some abstract thing.
Yeah.
AI could actually affect like every part of our lives.
It really could.
Healthcare, education, agriculture, transportation. I mean, everything.
Everything. And that's exactly why everyone needs to be part of this conversation.
Right.
It's not just for the tech people.
We all need to understand like what AI can do
For sure.
and what the risks are.
Yeah, we need to think about what kind of future we want, you know?
Absolutely. And it's funny because this whole thing about Vidya and the goddess Saraswati,
Yeah.
it's like India is using AI to connect with their past, but at the same time, it's pushing them into the future.
I think you're right. It's not just about using a new technology. It's
Sure.
about making it part of their culture.
And making it meaningful.
Exactly.
Well, you've definitely given our listeners a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive into India's AI revolution?
Just this. Stay curious.
Okay.
Keep learning about AI and how it's changing things.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask those like tough questions.
About how to fix us all.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
Stay informed and stay engaged.